First off, this device has been out for a little bit now, and I wanted to review it because a lot of people have been waiting for this thing a long time, even though, you know, a lot of people have already bought it. I try to do reviews before before stuff gets out into the market too much. The reason, because I think my reviews are more beneficial to people if they see them before they make a purchase, obviously. So I try to get the reviews out there as early as I possibly can, and there are occasions where sometimes I'll have a mod for a long time and I just won't even have time to do a review, which has happened before. So I wanted to do this one though, even though I've had it for a few weeks, because there was a lot of... So I don't want, you guys, as you guys know, as the people that watch my show know, I don't watch reviews. I try to avoid any kind of negativity or positivity, whatever, revolving around a product that comes out before I have a chance to review it. Because I don't want to be influenced by other people's opinions on a device. With this one, though, there was a lot of negativity kind of surrounding this device when it first came out. A lot of people were complaining about it. A lot of people didn't like the electronics, didn't like the limitations of 15 watts as a max on the device. But I said, you know what, I want to give this thing a fair shake. So I'm going to try setting it up a few different ways. And really see if I can kind of maximize the potential of this device, because it's really well made. So that's what we're going to do. So the Orion V3, it is not an inexpensive device. This is a very finely crafted device. It's got pretty high-end electronics in it that are very compact. It's really exceptionally well made and does carry a large price tag because of that. So the device is €250, not dollars, but euros, so it is not cheap. All of the components of the device, with the exception of M2 screws, the washers, and the O-rings, are made specifically for the Orion. You know, nothing on it is any kind of, you know, stock product. Even the glass tanks were built specifically for this device. The springs, the threaded rod, all the components, they're all stainless steel. And one thing that's unique about the device is it's actually made from one solid piece of steel, not separate pieces of pipe. So and then, you know, machined out of that one piece of steel. All the individual segments machined from the same piece of steel. So the height of the device in 18350 mode is 122 millimeters. That does include the drip tip, because it does have a built-in drip tip. 650 is 155 millimeters. It sounds bigger than it is. It's actually not that big, because keep in mind, like I said, it has electronics. It is a hybrid, so it has the Addy on it as well, and it also has the drip tip on it as well. It's actually a pretty compact device. The diameter of the body is 22.5 millimeters, and then the diameter of the cap portion and the tank portion are 20 millimeters. Let me take a vape real quick, and then we'll take this guy apart. So, and this is what it looks like. So I think it's a really nice looking device. If you're familiar with the Orion, this will look familiar. It's got a mixed media blasted finish on it, though, which is a little bit different. And it's got the NoSmoker logo on there with the blacksmith working the anvil. So as you can see here, I have it in 650 mode. So if you want to take it out of 650 mode, you take out this little middle segment here. I'll show you what it looks like in 350 mode. It can also be used with stacked batteries if you want to as well. I'm going to talk about some of the electronics, but I'm not going to get too detailed with the way the electronics work. I'll just mention a few of the features. So this is the device in 350 mode. This is a very compact hybrid. Okay, I'm going to show this to you next to a 14500 battery with a mini micro on top. It's actually taller with the drip tip than the Orion in 350 mode. So it's very, very compact. And keep in mind the Addy on top of this is minuscule. This is a mini micro. So it's very, very compact. Let's get the battery back on there and screw this whole thing back together. Do. The threading is very, very smooth. The machine quality on this is exceptional, which is not surprising. Other products from NoSmoker have been of this quality as well. Let me talk about a couple of the features of the electronics real quick. I'm not going to go through the whole menu. You guys know what a menu on an electronic device looks like. You have wattage up, wattage down, read the ohms, blah, blah, blah. So this does have the ability, though, to control the minimum voltage output of your battery to protect it from over discharge, and you can actually control that on the menu, which is nice. You've got your power control. It's got timing limited power output, so it actually can shut off. It'll shut off if you try to take too long a drag. So if you accidentally hold the button too long, it's pressing against something, it will stop firing. Short circuit protection, reverse polarity protection, and then I mentioned the deep discharge protection. It's got its own internal temperature check, auto power off after 30 minutes. Like I said, the resistance measurement, voltage measurement. Yeah, I mean, and a ton of other features that I'm not going to get into the details, like I said. If you guys want to read up on it, the information's on Vaporwall. If you want to get into the details, I just don't have the time to do it on the show and keep this to a 15-20 minute review. So I will show you what the display looks like. It's kind of a nice looking green LED there, as you can see. I've got it set to 15 watts. It has adjustable airflow control. So this is actually one of the things that's really interesting about this device. So the top cap has the integrated drip tip there. You take the top cap off, and you have your coil and your wick, and then you have this weird, funky little scuba thing over to the side next to the wick there. See that? So what that is that's actually where the air comes in from the air hole. And what that does is, first of all, it allows you to turn this ring that you see here with the little holes on it. Bastard. Not going to focus. Anyway, you turn the ring here with the little holes on it, and you can adjust the airflow as you want. And you can see inside the hole to kind of line the holes up to get the airflow the way that you want it. The top cap doesn't have a hole in it, so that means that you're not going to have leaking out of the air hole if it gets tipped onto its side. It still can potentially leak out of the air hole or the drip tip hole on the top, obviously, but it's not going to leak out of the side hole. And that does allow, it's a very interesting, different airflow control design than we've seen on some other devices. The nice thing about it is it doesn't interfere with the Addy deck, so it's really easy to build. And it's a simple single wick setup with a wrap and trap, just like the other Orion devices. I'm going to talk a little bit about the setup I have on here in just a little bit, but as you can see, it's got a very, very high raised threaded Addy deck. The top cap screws into it, and there is not a lot of room in this top cap. It's got a very thick wall. It is not very tall. You can see how much room there is between where the threading ends and the top cap. I know that's a little bit blurry, but hopefully you guys can get an idea. It's very, very tight in there and very, very compact, which obviously, is going to increase the flavor like I've talked about. Now, let's talk about the build on this. A lot of people, like I said, were complaining about the fact that this only goes up to 15 watts. I've been vaping it at 15 watts pretty much the whole time that I've had it. I tried a few different builds. Somebody was complaining to me about how, they did like a 3-wrap of 30 gauge or something, and they weren't getting a lot of vapor, and they weren't getting good flavor, even vaping it at 15 watts. And I was like, well, all right, I guess. Let me take a look at the way this is designed. So if you the way it's designed, I think that the issue that some people are having is maybe because of the way that that snorkel works, because it's so close to the wick. I think that maybe people are having issues with not actually getting airflow over the coils themselves, which is going to make you get less vapor production, because the air traveling directly over the coils as they're glowing, or not glowing, but as they're heating, is what's going to produce a lot of vapor. That's why, you know, bigger air hole directly lined up over the coil is going to give you more vapor. So I think that might be part of the problem that people were having. I also tried switching different types of wire, and what I ended up with was I thought, okay, well, let's try putting as much coil surface area on this thing as we can and let the electronics do the work. So what I did was I took 0.8 millimeter Kanthal and I wrapped it around that bugger 6 times, as you can see. So there's very little space on that wick that does not have coil in contact with it. Okay, it's almost all coil on there, as you can see, and I noticed a drastic improvement in the quality of the vape from this thing when I did that. So, you know, and it makes sense because you've got more surface area on the coil. It's going to vaporize more juice. You're going to get better flavor that way. You know, and it's okay to put more wraps and more wraps because the power is regulated by the electronics, not by how many wraps you put on the device. So I think maybe, you know, I mean, not to say that people that have reviewed this device don't know what they're doing, but I think that maybe the people that have reviewed this device so far didn't really give it a fair shake and set it up the same way that they were setting up you know, on their mechanical devices, and didn't try a few different setups. You know, I think maybe people are forgetting that, you know, how to use you know, an electronic device, even though electronics were all the rage for a while, you know, a year and a half ago, and the Pravari was the hottest thing on the market. So I think that that's part of the problem that people are having, because even though this thing only goes up to 15 watts, let me tell you, it doesn't vape like it's at 15 watts. It has a very small top chamber. It gets very warm in there, especially set up this way, the way that I have it with the 6 wraps of 0.8 Kanthal on there. And I have not experienced the issue that a lot of other people are having with not getting vapor production that they want, not getting the flavor that they want. I mean, here, let me just show you the vapor production that I'm getting off of this with this specific setup here. Does that look like I'm having a problem with vapor production? Seriously. I mean, you know, and I'm not, you know, it's not like I bored any holes out on this thing. I'm just using the stock air holes. So, here, let me take another vape. Vapor production's fantastic. It's thick, flavorful, warm, and I'm operating this thing at 15 watts. Again, I think people are getting ahead of themselves with this device, kind of ruling it out just because it only goes up to 15 watts because they vape at 20 watts. It's electronic. You have more flexibility with the coil. You can throw as much coil on there as you want, pretty much, you know, as long as it's within reason. You know, you're not going to be able to put a 5 ohm coil on there and have it operate properly, but I really like this thing, I have to say. I think that the price is high, but the quality of the device is good, and it has really high-end electronics in it as well, even though they only go up to like 15 watts, like I said. And that's why the price tag is what it is, and it's very well engineered. And I think it looks great. It's really compact. I am definitely a fan of this thing. You know, I know other people don't like it. It's not, you know, I saw you guys mention JC. It's not just JC. I've heard from many people in my my feeble attempt at trying to avoid any feedback on this device. I heard from a number of people that I know that either review or have shows like I do, or just like to buy all this high-end stuff, that they really didn't like this. But I do. I think it's good. I think that maybe people should try setting up differently before they rule this out. Um, and even in talking, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, but even in talking to NoSmoker, when I told him how I set this up, he actually said that he didn't think that this was an ideal setup for it. But I tried a bunch of different setups on it. Like I said, I tried using 32 gauge, 30 gauge, 28 gauge, various different number of wraps, and then I switched over to this kind of almost solid wrap of 0.8 millimeter Canthal, and it's vaping absolutely tremendous. And even at 15 watts, like I said, and I typically vape around 20 watts personally. So yeah, it's good. The flavor's really good. I'm gonna take another vape and then we're gonna move on. So, I mean, in summary, overall, I really like this device. Um, I think people need to give it another chance, rather than just automatically dismissing it because of the fact that it's electronic and does and it goes up to 15 watts. Doesn't matter. It works really well. You get a really good vape off of it. I'm getting a comparable amount of flavor and warmth as I would from vaping a mechanical device, at 20 watts. So I'm happy with it. I think it's good. I would recommend this device. All right. So, the only negatives, um, you don't have the ability to go crazy with, the setup on it because it is electronic. One thing I will say, I didn't have any issues with it not firing because I was working out hotspots, which was really nice. I didn't have issues with getting spammed with error codes while I was setting it up, so I don't know why that is. Maybe it can handle a higher amp limit, and the short protection on it is higher end. I don't know, but I found it very easy to set up. No issues there. Yeah, overall, like I said, I really like the device. There's really not a whole lot that I don't like about it. Um, yeah, I would recommend the Orion V3. So there you have it. That's my review of the Orion V3.